Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Pull Focus, the cinema-based entertainment podcast where three freelancers come together to hash it out. My name is Mike, and as usual, I am joined by my lovely bros in crime. To my right, cinematographer and video specialist, Mr. Umberto Estrada. Bert, how you doing, sir?
She's a good girl. Loves her mama. Loves Jesus and America, too.
Oh, rest in peace. And actually, at this point, sitting right in front of me, actor, producer, educator, Mr.
Pornographer.
Hey, what? Oh, Mr. Robert Andrus. Andrus!
A new pornographer.
How you doing, sir?
My precious.
Oh my God, you guys!
It's
the worst part is when he bites off his finger. It's just, it's ridiculous.
It makes me hungry.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm a little famished.
I'm a little hungry.
Right.
Well, drink a little bit more.
You never have finger things. Like
No, that's true. That's
Finger
true.
foods are delicious.
I know. What's wrong with you?
Well, because when you're crunching chips, it sounds terrible on the microphone. It's
But
not
it
a
might
good
be
sound.
interesting for the one viewer that we have.
The 5 viewers.
Oh, we're up to
Thank
5.
you very much.
Oh, really?
I love it.
Hopefully.
-1 because I stopped watching. So.
Nicely done. Yeah. So, guys, hello and welcome again to Pull Focus. We are here after a brief hiatus to speak to you about just everything we can regarding cinema, entertainment, creaky chairs, all this other good stuff. And we are going to just continue on with a series of probably one of the biggest projects that I've ever done, recording stuff, and that is Trial of Trilogies. Nice. Huh?
Well done.
I was going to do the classical one, but because there's so much classical music in the trilogy we're going to be talking about tonight, I thought I might switch it up just a little bit.
Why don't you just play some Enya? Or some
dude.
Annie Lennox? Either works.
That'll get kicked off of YouTube.
Annie
then.
won an Oscar for this.
Yeah, I think so. There's
Eurythmics. Annie Lennox won an Oscar for
Yeah, but
this.
she's good.
I
Really?
know.
She's all right.
No, I that is not a dig. I love that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
In case you guys are wondering what we're talking about, this is an ongoing.
Is what's his name? Sheridan.
Yeah,
That was one of his first deals. They put
in Lord of the Rings.
yeah, he does this for The Hobbit. I think he does the
Let's look it up.
song
Yeah.
for that.
All right, well, we'll look into it. It's good to. We're gonna just dive right into this, guys. This is the second part of a 3-part series we're doing to discuss, the biggest question that you could actually put out when it comes to movies. What is the best cinematic trilogy? And if you have been listening, you do realize that we've already answered that question. It's the Godfather trilogy. But what we're going to be speaking about in this episode is one of the major contenders for, what if The Godfather was never made? We talked about Back to the Future in the previous episode, which was my pick. And this time, we're going to go to Andrus's pick, which is the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
The right pick.
No.
This music is
Look,
epic.
look.
Oh, you can't judge it based on the
Trailer
Wi-Fi.
screws up.
Once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
It is a testament to how long the films are, because this trailer itself is 5 fucking minutes long.
Yeah, it's
See,
really long.
look what we're watching right now. What are we watching?
Oh, parts from The Hobbit, yes, but
Just
Were lost.
viewers
Wait
remember
a
that.
minute. Are you serious right now? What is up with that? Why did you choose this trailer?
Because
So
it's Lord of the
disappointed in you,
Rings.
Mike.
I know, I'm sorry. But no, there's more of of the trilogy in this than just the one-off movie.
Right.
Sauron needs only this ring to cover all the lands of a second darkness.
I don't like this trailer. And it has nothing to do with anything else. The other ones are better. We should do just individual going into the trilogy.
I love it that we're 5 minutes into the podcast and you're already pissed off.
I'm
It's
already
amazing.
bored.
It's because it's a boring movie. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not a bad movie. It isn't at all. First death, I believe, of the movie.
The weapon of the enemy.
That poor
is
guy
a
underneath
gift.
it.
Let us use it against him. You cannot wield it. None of us can. The ring must be destroyed.
It was made in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there can
Ooh, good wine.
What orders from Mordor, my lord? What does the Eye command?
We have work to do.
The cast, come on. The cast is incredible.
It's true.
Walk into Mordor.
Their gates are guarded by more than just orcs. There is evil there that does not sleep. The great eye is ever watchful.
What must I do?
You have my sword.
Bam.
And you have my bow.
Bam.
And my axe.
And his beard.
Carry the face of us all, little one.
We're coming too!
And my negative attitude until the very end.
Although my accent is the real thing. So
There's so many great things about this.
for sure. And we're going to talk about every last one of them.
It's not a perfect movie, it's not a perfect trilogy, but it's beautiful.
Are you frightened?
I have such a bad, sense of humor in the sense of you shall not pass.
Yeah.
Gas. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like, literally, it's like potty humor all the time.
Jeez.
Tell me about the sound in those moments.
Oh my god, man. We'll get into it.
I know.
It's unbelievable. Dude.
Who did this trailer?
Fandango.
Really?
I believe so.
I'm not the biggest fan of this trailer. I'm sorry, Fandango person.
Well, it's hard to encompass like close to 3 hour films in 5 minutes.
I understand, and I'll give them props for trying, but like the individual ones, I think are superior.
I gotcha.
I think they tell a better story, and then they don't edit in stuff from The Hobbit.
Okay, I think that's the major issue for you.
No, I was gonna say that a couple shots in, but Bert beat me to the punch as far as that's from The Hobbit.
I mean, it's a solid movie.
Yeah.
All the special movies.
And I'll tell you something. There's rewatching it again with the podcast in mind.
Yeah.
I appreciate the acting in this so much more now.
Yeah, I feel you.
Even the
Like all of it,
smallest
everything that we
present
talk
will
about,
change
I
the course
appreciate
of the
this so much
future.
more.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those tears. Fake. Just kidding.
Oh, man. All right, guys. So we are going to be discussing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And as Andres was kind enough to bring out, let's put out a bit of a header in regards to our conversation. This is in regards to the first 3 films that were released spanning the years of 2001 when Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring came out, and going into the 2 sequential films after that one. We know that The Hobbit was in. We know that this entire series, this entire story is well over 30 some odd years old. But we're talking about these 3 specific films because these were made.
From the book?
Dude, get up to the microphone.
Wait, you're talking from the book?
No, I'm not talking from the book. I'm putting that as an aside so our loyal listeners will understand where we're coming from. Remember, when we're
It looks
talking
like,
about...
like 100 years old. Or something.
That's not 100 years old.
I'm talking about the
but it's
cartoon,
pretty
though.
old.
Like,
The
I
cartoon?
legitimately quote the cartoon.
Okay,
still.
that's
So
completely
that's
fine. But let's keep in mind, we had to think about the rules when we were thinking about this. These were 3 films that were marketed and produced as a full trilogy. So we're going to go through and discuss as to how they apply to that, why they're good, and that kind of thing in regards to it. So let's break it up movie by movie. The first one we're going to talk about, of course, is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And
There's a hum. I don't know if that's somebody's...
touch the mic again. That's you, buddy. You have a battery in your pocket? What are you doing?
I got a battery in my hand.
How dare you, sir?
Let me see if I got it. No.
No, not as good.
Damn it.
Anyway.
That hurt.
Sorry.
You should have done that at here we go one more time.
Ready? There you go. See, that's a problem. We get feedback when Bert's touching it. When you touch your microphone, we get a gunshot. My equipment is failing. But let's get into this. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. The first one to come out in 2001. Won 4 Oscars for that year for, Best Picture and other various things, special effects and whatnot. So let's jump in. When it comes to this movie, I liked the fact that it was a good starting point because one of the things that Jackson got really well about this entire series was that he was so honorable, I think, to Tolkien's work. But what I didn't like about this particular film is that it always had like this abrupt kind of nature to it, even to the ending, where like it was just cut off at what I thought was like a weird point. I don't know. The production, everything was good.
You're talking about each sequential movie, or as
just
a
this
whole?
one specifically.
This one specifically.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
the thing.
they gotta stop it somewhere.
Yeah, I know, but why do they have to stop it like when they're at the bridge and they're like going down the river and shit like that? I
It
don't
makes a
understand
lot
that.
of sense to me.
Really?
Yeah, so did me. I mean, like, and especially if you read the books and stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's a good jump off point. I mean, I do think that he was true to the books.
Yeah.
In that sense, that everyone.
That's the most important thing for me, quite honestly, when it comes to that.
And spoiler,
Spoiler alerts.
thank you for picking up the cue.
You're welcome, Andres.
You lose one of the main 9 roles for the Fellowship in Boromir, getting it in the end of that one.
And,
so it's a great emotional moment to
For
end the
sure.
movie.
Like the movie itself, constructively, when it comes to like the different highs and lows, it's classic, hero's journey. Our hero, though, is just split up against, 8 different cast members, which was pretty interesting.
No, it's Frodo.
Well, one of the things about
It's all Frodo?
It's Frodo.
Okay, let's talk about that.
The end.
Because I've heard that argument before.
No,
Frodo is not the hero in this.
This is not my argument.
Frodo's not
here.
the hero.
Well, he's one of them, but he's not, it's more about this group
Do you know
of
what?
adventurers coming through.
I'm
Did
a
you
fan
watch
of
the
the
same
supporting
movie?
Oh,
cast.
shut up. Yes, of course I did.
Well, no, being a fan of the supporting cast, but it's there's only one main character, and it's Frodo.
No way. The main
So
character.
I knew
Okay.
Bert would take the lead on that.
Yeah, of
one.
course,
Do
right?
it.
The main characters in the title is the Fellowship of the Ring. It's
No.
all these guys put together.
You don't have anything happening here unless Frodo's taking the ring to Mordor. What's wrong with you?
Frodo wouldn't do anything if he didn't get the support from the other guys in the entire group.
That's not true.
That's absolutely true.
No, like they even said. Oh my god, did you watch the same movie?
Yeah, last week we talked about this. I've been studying.
Well, you studying the wrong books.
Oh
'cause,
God, it's so good to see you again after
there
so
is
long.
No, I mean,
Yeah, after this
Like, not
episode,
even
we're gonna
in the
go on another like 3-month hiatus just so I can just.
there's no. I mean, like, there's one main character, Frodo.
Okay, okay.
And
I mean, like from inciting incident all the way to the end. I mean, like, nothing happens if Frodo doesn't get that ring and start moving forward.
Okay, I can understand your argument in regards to that, but
none of the other characters have as much at stake as Frodo does.
not everybody has the same thing.
What?
It's the end of the world, dude. Everybody's going to lose something.
Well, I mean, okay, if a meteor's coming right now, we're all going to lose something.
yeah, a meteor called Sauron, who has a big yellow eye.
Bruce
who's gonna-
Willis is the one that commits the suicide.
All right.
So like,
How dare you mention a Michael Bay film
Just
when we're
saying.
talking about fucking Lord of the Rings?
I'm just saying that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like that is so like.
Okay, everybody calm down. Everybody
I-
calm down. This is obviously a very passionate.
I've got something to say right now.
Go right ahead, Andres.
Okay. This movie is one of my favorite movies.
Why?
As the trilogy, and we can call it one of my favorite movies, singular and plural, because we're going to get into that debate later.
Yeah, 'cause it's not a
That
trilogy.
being
Oh, boy.
said, it did not need to be as epic as they made it.
What?
Okay.
No, listen.
That's
to me.
what makes
No,
it awesome.
I know. I know. I'm going to throw
Who
this
here
out.
doesn't like Game of Thrones?
No. Hang on.
Am I the only one that?
Track with me for a minute. Just track with me for a minute.
Bring us on home.
Okay,
Andres.
so the ring pops up, right?
let
The
him
ring
talk.
pops up, and Gandalf does his research. He figures out, oh, this is the ring of the one ring to rule them all.
OMG, you guys.
Oh, wait,
The ring.
Why don't I call my big buddies the badass eagles?
Yeah.
Fly my ass over the volcano and just drop it on.
That
in.
has been the ongoing.
What
This
the
movie
F?
was made 16 years ago. That argument is the most pertinent argument that
It's-
has been carried over a
It's
decade.
so completely valid, though.
Yeah,
Like, where are those
absolutely.
eagles?
Absolutely.
Are they taking a big old
Because
eagle
then you
nap?
don't have a
Yeah.
story.
They're
What's
taking
wrong
it.
with you
No,
guys?
I get it, but that's my point.
The most-
so
God.
the thing that drives me crazy is we see the struggle that everybody goes through for the 10 and a half hours that is this movie.
And this is your favorite movie?
No, hang on.
What's wrong with you?
No. I'm just throwing this
Am
out
I
there
gonna have
because
to be the only
hang on.
positive
No.
person?
Yeah, no.
Listen,
Yeah, that'll be a switch, won't it?
I mean, this is
All I
great.
am saying is I'm bringing it up now because I know that is an argument, and I validate
Whose?
that argument in the
Everybody's.
sense of
Who's everybody?
Calm down.
if that were to happen, we don't have the epic adventure that we have.
Exactly.
And the fact that the Eagles are very symbolic of America, I'm like,
Oh, Jesus.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Okay, no, I feel you.
No, but here's the thing.
Gandalf the Grey is not a fascist.
He's not.
No. I'm sorry, Andrews. Go ahead.
I love it. Well, no, I just wanted to throw that out there. I do understand that all of you out there that have that same opinion.
Yeah.
Sure.
I love it. Okay, I love it.
Never heard it.
Every time we have a conversation about the suspension of disbelief, you're the first one usually to be like, bullshit. When we talk about a major crux in the dialogue of this story, why don't they just fucking fly the Eagles to Mount Doom? You're the one on their side.
So don't root for Knight Rider. Don't root for Mr. T and the A-Team. What is wrong with you two?
You don't.
I mean, you
don't root for Knight Rider.
It's a true hero's journey.
You were giving me shit about Back to the Future because the dude was driving a fucking DeLorean.
Yes, so now you're gonna say fuck Marty? I mean, that's what you guys are saying. I mean,
I wasn't saying that.
I mean,
I was bringing it up as
yes,
that's a point.
That's a point. You could have Gandalf the Grey has magical powers.
I cannot believe I'm saying this again. I mean, I know we've had a break, but for the love of God, pull the microphone up to
I'm gonna
your mouth.
You. I just can't believe that we're talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And even though I have a slew of negative things, you two are the ones that
are
fucking the movie up its ass. I mean, what is wrong with you two? It's like a perfect adventure movie.
Okay.
I mean, whether you call it a trilogy, whether you call it a one big movie or whatever.
Sure.
That is why it's beloved. That's why especially if you're a male geek, which all three of us are here.
It's true.
Get out of here.
It's very true.
It's one of the ones that you're going to put up there. The only reason that The Godfather would win is academic reasons.
Yeah, I feel
It's not because, for our thing, for what we do, for what we aspire to do, it's movies like this, or Star Wars, or Raiders, or Back to the Future, are the reasons we get into movies.
J.R.R. Tolkien was one of the defining factors in regards to what we consider to be the modern day hero's journey. And when we see somebody who's talented as Jackson and this incredible cast, which I would really love to speak with you about, Andres. I'd like to get into the qualifications, your opinions about the main cast and that kind of thing as well. Sure. It has a textbook, just a really great example of proof as to why the hero's journey is just a great tool to use, and just storytelling in general. This right here, you have the this poor guy over here who has this huge challenge to get over, and he finds the inner strength.
Poor guy being Frodo.
Yeah, okay.
The main character.
Yeah. he finds the inner strength after a lot of defeats.
You guys are awesome.
to be brought up and to ultimately succeed in what he was doing. I understand completely where you're coming from. It is a fantasy, so you have to put your academic side of your head a little bit left field in order to really enjoy it. That's true.
Well, no, but when I meant academically, even as a critic or whoever, would be watching a comparison to The Godfather to these.
Right.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean,
and
they're completely different genres as well.
Yeah,
it's like apples to oranges,
the modernity
of
the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do things that
30
Coppola
years,
couldn't
right?
do in his
easily.
films. Not that he was doing the same genre. That has nothing to do with it. But I mean, the construct of The Godfather is a real film, whereas this, it's the achievement of this film that makes it grandiose. I mean,
there are people who became fantasy fans of the genre because of what this work promotes.
I would say that I'm one of them. I mean, I was pretty much a sci-fi gangster guy until I saw this movie, and I thought, oh my God. I mean, again, who doesn't like Game of Thrones? I mean,
for sure.
the 2% out there that doesn't. If you don't have this movie or these movies, you don't have Game. I mean, you don't have Game of Thrones.
You're absolutely right. So let's dive into this a little bit, because it's not only the storytelling and the embodiment of these historical features that we come through. We mentioned the hero's journey about 16 times in the past 30 seconds. Let's talk about I did.
Because it's amazing.
Exactly. Let's talk about the clout behind this. Anders, let's go into the cast a little bit. I mean, we got Alan Howard, Sean Astin,
insane.
Sarah Baker, Sean Bean, all these Billy Boyd. No, Billy Boyd.
Okay,
but
so here's the thing about the cast. It's such an incredible group of talented individuals.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, if this didn't make them a star, they were already kind of a name status going into it. But certainly it put a bunch of them on the map.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Miranda Otto is one that I never knew who she was before watching it.
Orlando Bloom.
And
I had no idea who he was before this movie.
Well, sure. I mean, this in Pirates is what really launched him. He had back-to-back-to-back successes. But Andy Serkis, I mean, come on, nobody knew who Andy Serkis
They
was
are
before
making-
this movie.
Absolutely, and they are now making. Maybe have already made my memory's a little bit rough on that, but they're making an Oscar now for motion capture
Which
acting, and
I
that's
think
all because of the work that he's done.
I'm sure,
and it started here.
And I mean, just like every single actor in there, I think pulled their weight as far as the storytelling was concerned.
How did Peter Jackson do it? How do you go through?
This was such an emotional, an emotional journey, I think, from beginning to end, because you start in this, of course, they set up the whole story. And then once you're introduced to Frodo, this lush green land, it's just such a quaint lifestyle. All they do
into chaos.
is drink and farm. And
sounds like a good life to me,
you know
honestly.
what I mean? Have little hobbits.
Since we're talking about fantasy just a little bit, I want you guys to role play a little bit, because I have a serious question in regards to what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Think about what Peter Jackson is going through in regards to this. This guy is the geek of geeks, and he gets the green light to hire these amazing actors, this amazing story. How the fuck, pardon my language, do you put a lasso around that whale?
Well, I mean, like, one thing that I'm always going to go back to this is the root material is solid.
Yeah.
Well, so like you could.
Who doesn't remember the animated series? Well, I mean, like some of our younger listeners might not, but
sure. I'm just talking about the books. I mean, like they're solid enough that it's not even whether he picked them or not. It's who wouldn't want to play any of these roles.
Well, and that's why it's such a great foundation
like
for everybody.
unless you've never read them or you are truly not involved in reading. I mean, because I think everybody in lower school, at the very least, read The Hobbit. Right. I mean, and then once you get into The Hobbit, you're pretty much going to go to the other three.
We're talking about a story that is over 60 some odd years old. I mean, originally The Lord of the Rings was published back in 1954, and you don't get a kind of pedigree like that for a book, especially one in the fantasy genre. I mean, now we're overloaded with everything, but back then, this thing has legs, and I think you have a really good point. Yeah, Jackson had a really good foundation to start with.
So, I mean, at this point, it would be pretty easy to get. Now, I think that a smart thing that was done in the casting, and I'm not sure if Peter Jackson had anything to do with this, but I mean, until final, I suppose. But they did pick up-and-comers that were, at the time, recognizable. You could say, "Oh, I've seen him before," but you didn't know Viggo Mortensen's name until after Lord of the Rings.
No,
I mean, like you say, "Oh yeah, he did this or he did that," but his name being Viggo, no. Elijah Wood.
All you know is that he's not American.
They certainly have their powerhouses like Ian McKellen.
No, but
and
even
Christopher Lee.
Ian McKellen, he's known in the British world, but in the Americas, this is the movie. This and X-Men would be the movies that us geeks
sure.
You didn't. I mean, like nobody saw his gay movie about being a gay actor.
Gods and Monsters.
Nobody. We didn't see that
because I'm a filmy. I probably did before,
yes,
but
and let's
also that education.
Let's take a moment and realize that a film itself can't have a sexual orientation. So when you use "gay" as a derogatory comment,
it wasn't a derogatory comment. It's
about a gay guy. It was literally
a gay guy.
All right,
which one did I go to?
What am I gonna say?
You said his gay movie.
Well, okay.
Well, no, because the character that he played was gay.
Oh,
he's gay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't about Ian. It was about the character.
He literally is gay.
Yeah.
So the point being is that in Europe he's well known, but here he's known as.
Well, and then we already had the conversation about Orlando. Who was he before it?
Yeah,
right.
so like
Elijah Wood.
Wait. Is Orlando Bloom gay?
Nobody has long hair.
Okay.
So,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Elijah Wood, I would say people knew. I would say Sean Astin, people knew.
But they would be the bigger stars, and they are the main characters.
And that's what I'm saying.
I mean, like,
and then Sean Rhys Davies, nobody knew who he was because he was so covered up with makeup. but like, I know the name because I'm also a geek with like the whole indie thing. But
but again, unless you know, like, oh yeah, he's the guy. He's the Indian guy from Raiders. I mean, you don't
for sure.
You don't none of these guys were like huge, other than maybe Elijah Wood.
Liv Tyler certainly would have been one of the names that they were advertising in 2001 because of her namesake.
But again, namesake. But Liv Tyler didn't. She had that Empire Records or something like that.
That's
She didn't
right,
have
yeah.
a
That
ton
thing you do
of
with Tom
Well, also
Hanks.
she also
Still,
had the
you're talking
fact
about
of
2-3 movies.
and her dad was the
that's
lead
that's
singer of
the reason.
But
that
that's
she's
the
on the
reason
planet.
she has the name.
Yeah, so like
We get it.
But the point being is that the reason I'm bringing that up is we could say that they had a pedigree and they were great actors and all that stuff before they came in. But it was
No,
this
it
is
wasn't
a
a
perfect
star status.
Would you stop
Absolutely.
talking?
Yeah.
Let him finish.
Let me
let him
finish. This is what I give Peter
Good
Jackson
point, though,
credit.
Andres.
Is that he was able to get all those components
Yeah.
and make it work.
Well,
And that's what, again, the feat of these movies, I think, are the things that people admire. I mean, like the amount
that's
of
something that-
production and that everyone just gives it everything
so
from
huge.
first scene to last scene.
yeah.
That's going to bring me back to budgetary things as well.
Jesus
how
Christ.
much was he awarded in order to do it? Because I know that they were planning on doing them consecutively. I thought it was
I'll find that.
like 500 million or something crazy.
Okay.
Now, when you're awarded a gigantic pile of cash like that to do this epic
You better not fuck up.
narrate, well, not just that, but that also allows you to look around the world to find cast members.
But again, I don't think it was like he was, oh man, we need to get XXX. I mean, he probably had some names involved.
but
When it's that
Well,
big of a
let's break
budget-
that down.
But
Let's break that down real quick.
You can throw a wider net to then find who fits
That's true.
perfectly for
No, but
for what
here's-
you're
And
doing.
money gives you that freedom. Let's
does.
jump into that really quick because according to the Google Gods, right now Lord of the Rings ranks 9th in the list of most money thrown around for the movie with
global ticket sales.
Right, with 2.91 billion in global ticket sales compared to the top-ranking franchise Harry Potter, which earned 7.7 billion. So it made a lot of money. In
Yeah,
regards
well,
to
multiply that by how many movies they actually did.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if I can find out how much it. But you have a good point. I mean,
Do
but
you know, if you go to the IMDb page, it says at the bottom what the original budget was.
I mean,
lovely.
if they gave him a buttload of money, like, the studio's heavily involved.
All the way down.
I mean,
Yeah.
like the studio is not,
correct.
Jackson this is not like his first movie where he said, "Oh, I'm going to get like these uprising stars and stuff," and he has full control.
Yeah.
With this, on set he probably had full control, but when it comes to the whole thing, not until probably now the Hobbit series, I would say that he got to pick whatever he wanted.
Oh, I
And then-
guarantee you
but-
he got to
but
do
he had
whatever he
to-
wanted.
Absolutely.
He earned it.
The reason that I'm bringing that up in comparison to The Godfather, same thing happened. Coppola was given a lot of money with a lot of star power.
That's true.
Or up and coming star power. Same kind of thing. And they did give him a lot of money for its time.
Right.
So apparently for like the second film alone, I'm checking out because we're moving on to the second movie in the series, Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. Supposedly, the original
94
budget
million.
was like $94 million. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And they made billions of dollars off
Right.
of this
I mean,
entire
like-
series.
Was that accurate? Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Estimated, but. And then the opening for this movie alone, back in 2002, the Twin Towers got, oh my gosh, like 1,600,000. And we're talking like, 9 figures for the overall gross that was last pushed through in 2011. So we're talking about a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah. Right.
And one thing that does bother me a little bit is that Jackson deserves all the credit that he gets. And the cast deserve all the credit they
completely.
get as well. But one thing I think gets lost on people who really realize it is just the immense amount of man and woman power of personnel that went in the back and did their job so very well.
It was
the VG effects, the costuming, the casting. I mean, Jesus, Andrus.
It was
casting
absolutely
directors.
everybody involved. And if you look at those epic shots that they did with all of the VFX in there,
There are hundreds of people on hundreds of thousands of
multiplied
hours.
by now hundreds of thousands, layered upon layered upon layered upon layered.
It's
And
crazy.
I mean, it's just like they were groundbreaking with all of their technology with it as well. I mean, they're trailblazers.
This definitely raised the bar in regards to how just movies could be made.
Well, again, like I keep going back to it, without these kind of movies, you don't have Game of Thrones.
Correct.
You're right.
You don't have the current
and
ones,
especially
the contemporary ones.
The
And if you talk about the technical specs that are coming through, you don't have the later movies coming out with like, what was that latest one? Like, well, Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously, but you also have like the one that came out with the oh god, it's killing me that I don't know this. The latest Besson, not Luc Besson, the guy who
you're
Valerian?
talking about Valerian.
Valerian, yeah, exactly. Nothing but CGIs. But because of the advances, literally, that were made in regards to the experimentation for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, we get this. I mean, the only person that was up there with it was probably like the Avatar series, because he was doing his stuff all like in house and developing his own stuff. But the techniques and the different ways in which we could, I mean, it goes so much farther beyond green screen now. And it's like what happened with The Matrix when they invented bullet time.
Right.
That kind of stuff is happening with this trilogy, and it's being carried on from movies that we're watching today, 16 years later. Granted, the quality is better, but the initial techniques, the bar being
You can argue
raised
that
with-
because I don't necessarily think that. I mean, maybe with 4K,
Yeah.
you might be able to tell the difference.
But you think the effects from
I still they hold. I think they still hold.
Watching
mean,
it
like-
on the big screen that I did, it's just like it's still.
I think it still holds. I
impressive.
mean, yes,
It's beautiful.
You're not gonna. I mean, you're talking about what they're. How old are these? 2002. We're in 2000.
the original one was 16 years
15
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, 15, 16 years ago.
Of course, there's been advances, but the reality of it is, I would argue that it holds.
Yeah.
Like against any other, in particular, because you have great story content, you have great direction, you have great actors, you have when you encompass the whole thing.
Yeah.
It beats the pants out of most movies that come out now.
Yeah, I feel you.
I mean, because you could bring up Valerian, but I didn't see it because it looked like stupid. I mean, like,
And so if we're gonna talk about that for 2 seconds, I'm a fan of Luc Besson, but
Yeah.
boo.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like Bassan too,
feel
but
you.
I mean, it was. It looked stupid. It
And
was
someday for everybody out there, we're going to do a show where we just talk about the top 3 worst movies that we've ever seen. That might be on the list.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like,
Well, here's the thing. I'll give it credit for the visual effects, but
That's about it.
I
again-
didn't like
Well,
the
then
rest.
let's move on, because we can definitely spend the rest of the time we have today just
on
like
everything.
shouting
Come
out accolades in regards to this movie, because it wouldn't be up in our contention for second best trilogy ever made in cinematographic history in movies at all if it wasn't super good. But one of the major things that we are having qualms with, that I want us all to dig into, is the fact that it's not really a trilogy, is it?
amen. I don't think
It's just a big
it's a big
10-hour movie.
And if you include the other ones, we're talking about a whole day period.
Easily. I mean, I would spend less time rewatching the Godfather trilogy
And I will
watching this.
And
So-
this is one of the things that I don't know if there's ever been a true definition of trilogy.
right.
Oh,
But-
I don't want to get existential.
Hear me,
Well-
hear me out. Hear me
Okay,
out.
let's do it.
We also
In
talked
The
about this
Godfather-
before. so-
Yeah, you're right.
In The Godfather, there is time spanned.
Yeah.
It's like you have one story, you transfer the characters to another story, and then you transfer those same characters to another story. The Back to the Future, same thing.
Yeah.
Where time has spanned.
Yeah.
This is one big story that they split into 3.
Now, why did they do that?
Well, because in order to do as kick-ass of a job, I think they had to.
I thought it was because of budgetary concerns.
I think it's because like if you want to leave a mark in cinema history,
Yeah.
you have to do this.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Andrus is of a different opinion. I mean, Andrus, you think
Well-
that there's definite separations between the first to the third movie. We haven't even gotten into the Return of the King either, so I'll just bring that up while you're talking.
I think so, just based on the fact that this was my nomination for the
For the contest or whatever.
for our trilogy
segment.
segment. But it's not labeled part 1, part 2, part 3.
Okay.
Now, if you want to argue it, it's called Lord of the Rings, blah, 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 right? For the subtitles. But they also filmed it in succession as a trilogy. I don't think
That's
it was
true.
ever supposed to be one big, gigantic movie. I don't know how accurate that is. That's just what my understanding of their filmmaking
Do you think that
was.
there's I don't mean to cut you off, and I apologize.
No, that's pretty much all I was going to say on it.
Wicked. Do you think there's any way to what Bert is saying, though, that thematically it's a little hard to separate
So-
these things between...
You can't.
So what we were talking about when we first were talking about trilogies were, one, does it even fit the criteria?
Right.
And ultimately, we all decided yes, based on tonight's discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Now, whether or not it is an actual trilogy, I think that's just going to be something that people decide for themselves, right?
Do you guys think
because,
that that's
Bert,
something...
you still think it's one movie, right?
Oh, yes.
That's what you would say?
Yeah, I would say because
I would still say that it's 3.
you take the credits out.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh, we're good.
Something happened right there.
You were saying?
I said if you take the credits out of each of the movies, except for the King, Return of the King.
Again.
Do we miss a
Say
beat?
it one more time. Say it one more time.
Okay,
Sorry.
when you watch all three of them, if you took the credits out of the first one and the second one, would you miss a beat?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it goes seamlessly right into the next scene.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah, like, because even when you get into the from
Wait, you know what? No, wait, hold on a second. Because honestly, I remember this. This does bring a pet peeve of mine.
Well,
because like when things were cut off, I thought they were cut off a bit abruptly in the first and second film. And I know, call me bourgeoisie if you want me to, but the fact that
middle class.
How dare you? The fact that I had to take 5 minutes trying to remember what the fuck happened in the previous film. Oh, okay.
Did
fine.
you really?
Yeah, I absolutely
wrong
did.
with you?
Nothing's wrong with me.
Were you falling asleep?
How dare
you? How dare you? Okay, I see how it is. That's awesome.
I mean,
that's great.
it's a
that's
straight
great.
cut into
No, that's
the next
cool.
one.
That's cool. That's cool.
I mean, because even with the transition of
I'm totally
from
overloading
Two
the mic.
Towers
Ugh.
to Return of the King, you do that flashback to Gollum's story. It's still seamless. It's just a flashback.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
so it works perfect. I mean, you take those credits out, you're just watching a long ass movie.
Well, then how do
So-
we? Okay, go ahead.
I'm also going to defend Bert's choice in calling it one movie as well.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
always right.
But no. Here's the. You always have valid arguments. I'm never going to take that away from you. Because guess what? One.
Never have.
One.
you.
It's an opinion.
Yeah.
I will always.
I mean, my
appreciate
opinion is
people's
based on
opinions.
fact.
You
See, and
said
that's
that
something
Frodo is
Bart
not the
says
main
all
character.
the time.
I say that and I stand by it.
Oh
Sorry,
my
Andres,
God.
go ahead.
Keep drinking because that's all you're good at.
I love this wine, by the way.
Man,
You were giving.
Well, he
you were
lost his
giving.
thought.
I
Like,
totally
like,
lost it.
My bad.
I'll
You were
go back
giving.
to it.
You're
I'll
giving
go back
Bert
to it.
his credit for saying that it was one film.
and I'm not sure exactly where I was going with that in this moment, but
Come back to it. So you can,
I will. There
From
was
Laurels.
something very valuable I was going to
Christ.
contribute there. My brain just doesn't work the same way.
I love it that Estrada is just a sponge for compliments.
I'm awesome. I mean, like, first of all, again, like the trilogy thing, I guess on the drive here, I was like, how do I define trilogy?
Yeah.
And I really do think that the difference between the two sets that we've seen, with Godfather being one,
Yeah.
and then Back to the Future being two, is time has been spent with the same characters. Like, you know, there is it could be just 15 minutes like in Back to the Future, but time has moved.
Right.
Whereas this is just one long story.
You can glue the three films together
Yeah, they're
pretty
just
seamlessly.
I like this
In
definition.
fact,
The definition of trilogy
it
that I
actually
just
fits.
All right.
So.
as I grab the mic, the first three films, same thing. Take the credits out. Even the last movie, take the credits out and glue it to
That's true.
Fellowship. You got one
That's true.
six-part movie. You know?
So here's what I was going to validate. It did come back to me is if you can watch each movie independently, does it stand on its own?
Oh, good question.
So here's because of how you watch Lord of the Rings typically
Yeah.
as a series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I see where you're
I
going with
don't
this.
know that I could validate that Two Towers is a standalone movie.
I
I
guess that's
don't know that I could validate a little bit more so.
Yeah.
I could that Return of the King was its own movie.
Yeah.
But I would strongly recommend that that's a criteria in our discussion, even if that eliminates my choice, because I think that that's a strong
No, I think it's
argument.
still.
But then at that point, then Back to the Future has a problem because
they
have to be continued. I mean, they actually
And they
have
do.
the title card to be
continued.
Okay.
But
So-
I also think that each of
Which
them
I
you could
think-
watch independently and still understand the
Thank
world
you.
and realm of what it is. But
Okay.
you could do the same here. You just
Yeah.
might be a little bit lost why they're on this journey, but they
Yeah.
seem to do expositional
I think it has-
storylines all the time.
I think
So-
it might have a lot to do with the way it was shot too. I mean, we can't disregard the fact that when you're dealing with a project this large, the actual real world production challenges that come into play are going to affect the dialogue. They're going to affect the narrative. So,
but I don't think it does on this.
You don't think so at all?
No, I think again, you take those credits out, you got one big movie.
Well, then how can you? Okay, no, I agree with you. Like at the beginning of the fucking podcast, I told you that I was in the same lane as you were.
You're the one that's
And I said it
arguing. I'm not arguing.
I'm not arguing. I'm
Just
putting
say,
up
Bert,
additional
you're right.
point of view.
Hey,
What
can
is
you
right?
hit the bullet? Hit the bullet. Thank you. chill.
All right, you're right. You're right. Okay, well then let's talk about this then and try and really kind of diamond pick this, because if this is really a trilogy that's being put into play, then we should be able to rate all the movies as to which one is our favorite and which one is our least favorite. So Andrus, I'm going to hand it off to you in regards to that. Out of these 3 movies, which one do you think was the best?
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So ultimately, and it's only because
Don't qualify, just pick one.
Well, I know. I need to though. I
the
need
man
to tell you
form
why.
his thoughts,
He
for
always
God's sake.
qualifies.
He's going to lose his train of thought again because you and I are going to get in another argument.
Okay. So originally, I would say because it's the new story.
Yeah.
I would say Fellowship of the Ring. Two Towers has its pluses. The only thing I don't like, which is why I don't want to say Return of the King, is because it ended 15 times. So hang on.
And you cried every time.
But here's the thing.
Hey, I cried profusely during this movie.
This is exactly why I choose Return of the King.
Right.
Because there's so much history and there's so much emotional attachment to all of the characters.
Yeah.
And so much happens in Return of the King that I'm just blubbering the entire time.
I feel you.
I mean, like literally, I've got a box of tissues and like tissues like surrounding me, like dabbing.
It's
like,
all good.
It's
all
so
good.
sad.
And we're working a little bit.
No, but it's
a little bit in reverse, because what I usually ask you guys is like, given our own specialties, which one's the best. Now I just want to find out which one you think is the best, and we'll go into our specialties afterwards. But please continue.
For me, it's
doing.
Return of the King because of the culmination of everything.
Wicked. How about you, Bert? What do you think is the best one out of the 3?
Well, I would agree with Return of the King, and it's mostly because those 50 endings. I mean, like a lot of people.
Why does that always come up as being funny to me?
Because it is. It's hysterical. I hate it.
But they have the best dialogue. I mean, like, to me, one of the things that I quote, like in my family and everything, is "You bow to no one."
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And so, like,
damn straight.
There's so many moments that even like as I'm talking and remembering the film, you do well up and you go like, and I'm not a crier. I think crying is stupid, but for a film, but
we got the drama. We got the drama police coming for you. You can hear the sirens.
But it gets
in the
you,
background.
right?
It does. I mean, like there's so many great hug scenes and so many times that you're like, God, I wish I could be Frodo. God, I wish I could be Sam.
Yeah,
you know,
I
like
feel you.
That you're just like, yeah, it's a solid film. Now,
dude, pause for sirens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something's going down.
That's film speak for you guys. We gotta pause for planes and sirens and stuff.
Pause for sirens.
Pause for sirens. Okay, go ahead, Bert.
but one of the things, now going back to the 50 endings, one of the things that Return of the King does point out in the films, which I was defending earlier, but hypocritically, I'm going to say, you do feel the length of the films by the time you get to Return of the King.
I feel you.
You start to like, man, maybe this battle could be 5 minutes shorter. You know, like maybe this dialogue could be like 2 sentences shorter.
Do you remember? Did you saw it in the theater, right? Did both of you see it in the theater?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you remember sitting in the theater
by the way.
and like people got up and they started exiting?
No.
Like, okay, so on the first fade to black, like after
because they thought it was over.
They thought it was over. Like then like the wings of the exits were just filled with people because they thought, it's just additional material.
Oh, okay.
We've got another, and then like 45 minutes later, they like finally come back and sit down, or they just like sit on the floor. It was hysterical.
I believe it. I believe it.
That's a gem of my own memory that I love.
I
about
understand.
That experience.
I completely understand where it's coming from. I think that I'm actually in agreement with you guys, and I think that the Return of the King is the best one because, quite honestly, it was okay. Bear with me.
Oh God.
It's the most melodramatic of all 3.
And there's a lot of melodrama.
No, thank God.
Do you know what?
Melodrama.
Do you know what? I'll give you that too.
Thank you so
I'm a
very
fan
much.
Of melodrama.
Now look, let's be very clear. I am a melodrama when it's done right, when it's used, when it's not too much, and when you use it in the right ways. I mean, he turns around and he says, "Do it for Frodo, man." I mean, I was
totally
bawling.
Does. He totally.
I was
does.
fucking
That's
bawling.
Hysterical in the context of how you just put it. I've never looked at it that way.
And that's one of the 50 endings that comes through. All melodramatic, all all
That was
perfect examples of how melodrama can be done
Okay,
right.
well,
and
the
I am
one-
such a sucker for that stuff. I
The
absolutely
one
am.
that I was gonna say is, I may not be able to carry the ring, I know, but I could carry you. And it's so dramatic.
It's so good.
So epic.
so good.
But it's a beautiful moment. It's
and again,
a Rudy moment.
Kudos to the cast for sure. It's a Rudy moment.
totally
Oh,
is.
I see what you're doing there.
Hey.
Oh, and also, I mean, give more credit to the cast too, because these guys are working on foam bumpers that are just coated in green screen, and it's just like, okay, well, now I have to be emotional. It's a theater piece.
Well,
But you know what though? I
Stellar.
suspect that the cast by this point, after we're talking about years of doing this film, they believe that they're Frodo. They believe that they're Sam.
Oh,
and so when they get
you
into,
believe that they are not?
yeah, when they get to those
know what I
emotional
mean?
moments, I really believe that they're there.
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
there
They're
where
in
they're
there.
going to be like bawling and sacrificing. And all
Yeah,
that
sorry
stuff.
about the.
That's all right.
there's bugs.
Because I mean, one of the things I hated about this whole movie business stuff, in particular with these films, is that Sean Astin was not nominated.
I agree.
Yeah, that
I was
bothers
going to
me.
bring that up as
totally
well.
bothers me.
And the reason, because you look at it and you go, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need for to get to that level? You know what I mean? Like what?
I think that the majority of roles that Sean Astin takes, that's the reason why he dies so much, because he thinks, oh well, I'm getting an Oscar for this, yeah. Because he dies in almost everything.
Are you talking about Sean Bean?
Sean Astin?
Oh my god.
You're talking about Sean Bean.
Oh fuck me.
I know. I'm talking about Sean Astin.
See, we're
They're
talking
both
about
talking about
Sean
Sean
Goonies,
Astin.
man.
We're talking about
Goonies.
Rudy.
No,
Rudy.
You're right.
Rudy.
You're right.
Rudy.
Hold on.
Do not
Oh,
confuse
that
your
Sean
Seans.
Astin.
Do not confuse your Seans, Mike.
Wow.
You know what? I'm just
yes,
doing.
You know when he says like
I'm
experts
just
and
doing
stuff?
things that are relative to our audience,
like
because
validity
I am
just went into the toilet.
I am not the only person who has mistaken a Sean in this movie. Go fuck yourself.
Which is true.
I say,
believe you.
no, man.
But-
There's only one Sean Astin.
That's true.
Or one Sean that makes you cry. Did
Samwise
you cry
Gamgee.
when Boromir died? Really?
Nah, not really.
There you
No,
go. I mean,
but I died when Eddard Stark did,
that's different. That's different.
and I also died when I also cried when 006 died.
Yeah, I
for
mean, that's
sure.
different. That's
Like,
different.
it was a
In
good
every
number.
movie.
It was a good
but
number.
Boromir dies, you go.
Okay, well then I apologize to our audience. Yeah, I get lost up.
No,
the
because he
cast
was
and crew is
flawed.
over 100 freaking people. Okay, give me a break. And again, it all matches up into one big movie. So I think I'm allowed to get a little confused every once in a while. But to your point, Sean Astin should have gotten an Oscar. Yes,
I have a point. And it went along with everything else. But yes, I mean, like the fact that the entire cast and crew didn't get nominated for every possible
real.
thing that they could
Well,
be
they got a hell of
nominated
a
for.
They got a hell of a record.
Sweep them. Why
No.
do you have to be fair in that context?
I
This is
kind of agree with
epic.
that. I
sure.
couldn't agree with
Everybody
that, but-
could have one and
But
should
still,
have one.
with Return of the King, that was the whole thing. That's why that one was the one that got
Oh,
nominated.
that got everything.
They
It
got
got like
everything
15
because
to
they were
20,
waiting
whatever it was.
for the thing to end, which
Yeah.
goes back, is it a trilogy?
Yeah.
111 nominated for how many?
So it's one of those things, but
Just
when
the
it
fact
came
that at
down,
111 was ridiculous.
and that's the mistake with a lot of these newer films too, or the way that they are critiqued, is because of special effects or fantasy or sci-fi and stuff. They seem to ignore or give credit to the actors.
Yeah.
And that bothers
Yeah.
me.
And the crew, too.
The crew gets it because they got
The crew gets the
they get the
yeah, they
nomination
got all
and
of
they
those.
get the
Oh, I see
They
what you're
won
saying.
all of the costume. They
actors-
won all
I
of
mean,
the special
like,
effects.
yeah.
You're right. I feel you. You're right.
It's kind of sad because like as epic as these films are, no one
Do me a favor.
Like
Will you pull
nobody
up
said,
the-
best supporting actor Gandalf.
Yeah.
Ian McKellen.
Will you
backed it
pull
out.
up the nominations and wins for the acting alone? Because I think that
They
proves
never
it.
won an. They didn't win.
They
any
didn't.
For
I think that
actors.
proves it.
And I don't think they were nominated.
And
None
that's
of them were
unfortunate
nominated.
because everybody in there did such a stellar job. And that's what I was going to say. Going back to the acting, I don't like Miranda Otto in this movie until she has that moment at the end.
Yeah, I'm not a man.
I'm not, I am no man.
I am no man. You're right.
And then there is something just so badass about what she does.
For sure.
And so honorable and so doing it for not just her and her family, but for her entire community. And, just who she is as a character is so overwhelming for me in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's struggling for her life at the end. And like, there's that moment, talk about the melodrama.
Yeah, for
She's
sure.
reaching for that sword and it falls over. And then they don't even know that she's being attacked. and they chop the dude to bits.
Yeah, it's intense.
But it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
so apparently we have
and there's no acting.
There's no acting there, and there should be. There should
a lot of general ones. Like they have a dozen Oscars for when it came out back in 2004.
Well, yeah, again,
Best
for
Picture,
the crew,
best sound mixing. You're right.
On the back end.
You make a good point.
Yeah,
the crew was one that was most realized in regards to this film. You're
which
right.
is fine, and I think they deserve it without a doubt. But the thing that, because of the genre, because of what it is,
should have been up there too.
Oh yeah,
They really should have. And
like
even
Sean
though
Astin, Andy Serkis, I mean, like
even for the one scene that they actually filmed with him as a real living person,
did a great job.
He was phenomenal.
I mean, because then you look, okay, maybe the blue eyes are too melodramatic.
Well,
but
you know what? You guys
Bilbo's awesome. I mean,
You
Frodo's
guys make
awesome.
a really good point. I mean, the only thing that was in regards to the cast was you were right. Ian McKellen got Best Supporting Actor for Fellowship of the Ring.
Nominated, didn't win.
You're right.
What about? Can you pull up Two Towers as well, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to talk about like how, because we're technical guys, and I think it's interesting to talk about like how we resonate with the fact that the technical people on the back end, costume design, the effects, the cinematography, they are showering on Oscars. But yeah, the face of the movies, maybe they didn't get enough credit. That they didn't get enough credit that they should have gotten.
Well, I mean, you can say all you want about Elijah Wood, whether you like him or not.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he
he
did a hell of a
should
job.
have been nominated.
Yeah, absolutely.
You talk about Sean Astin, whether you like him or not. I mean, even the Two Towers was kind of like shunned.
Yeah,
look at that.
Well, quite honestly, I think it was probably my least favorite of the trilogy to be.
But that doesn't.
Yeah,
I mean, but again, the scale of it. But the back end still gets recognized,
right?
Because you look at the scale. Oh my
there's
God,
still 6.
Yeah, there's still 6.
So, do you think it's safe to say that maybe the production was the biggest star of this movie?
No, again, I go back to what I said originally.
Well, the Oscars say differently.
Well, the
Oscars are saying Peter Jackson is the star of it.
Yeah,
okay.
And then I would take it a step further as far as I think it's everyone that makes this. I mean, and I said that earlier. You can't. Peter Jackson didn't just have like a whip and was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna do this."
What do you mean?
Wasn't.
I totally heard opposite.
I don't. What? He had literally a whip.
He literally was whipping them.
That's why they were crying.
There were orcs in this movie. God damn it, bro.
So I mean, it's one of those things where I do believe that it was a joint effort, and it shows. I mean, like everybody gave everything they possibly could give to this film, and that's why it's awesome.
And I think,
but it's not the best trilogy of all time.
It's not the best trilogy of all time, of course. We've all agreed that The Godfather is, but this is definitely a contender. Like in the special universe, if The Godfather trilogy never existed, this might be number one. Well, if Back to the Future
if we
was
go
never
back
made.
to The Godfather, I don't think this would even be possible.
Yeah. You make a great point, Andres. You're always in there with the good points. I appreciate that. You're right.
Well,
and honestly,
we even talked about that during that podcast. I think as like it really did set the standard for multiple movie formats.
Absolutely. And even from a budgeting standpoint, this is like and that's something we can go into a little bit because we're almost out of time. But that's something we can go into a little bit. The budgeting, the technical specifications, the way in which this movie was organized, they wouldn't know what the hell they were doing if it wasn't for The Godfather.
Yeah, or any predecessor, but yeah, would definitely,
for sure. Okay, well let's jump into it really quickly then. I know it's a little bit hard because all the movies were so very similar, but let's go back to what we're talking about in regards to our specialities. Let's start with Andres. What do you think? What was the strongest casting? What do you think was the strongest from an actor's perspective? Specifically, the strongest movie in the trilogy.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go flip side on this one and call it the first one because without the foundation on the first one of having all of the actors develop the characters that they created for this.
Yeah.
Granted, you have the original story, which gives them a huge foundation to build off of as far as what they're up against. But I'm gonna say Fellowship of the Ring has the best acting in it.
Okay.
Only because it set everything else in motion.
It was a trendsetter.
And it's also the pilot. It's also the maiden voyage. It's also the first.
It's the most important film in the series.
Is it the most emotional? I don't think it was. I think the third one was.
Yeah.
But is it the best as far as acting goes to buy the idea of what this world is and who these characters are? I think that's the one
an
I
excellent
would go
point.
with.
It convinced the studios to say, "Oh my God, we can make something really incredible with this." Okay, I can respect where you're coming from. Bert, from a cinematographer's point of view, what do you think was the strongest film out of this trilogy?
New Zealand.
Thank you, because wasn't it beautiful?
I mean, because
You
all
can't
three
do
of
it without it.
Yeah, all three of them
My
are the
finger
same
is just
look.
poised over the gunshot button. I swear to God. No, go
All
ahead.
three of them look the same. I mean, there isn't anything. They're all beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think without New Zealand, you have nothing. I mean, because
So the movie New Zealand was the strongest in regards.
because
Okay.
like if you look at the countryside, the swamps, everything that they used that was actual natural location, they're epic as it is.
Yeah, I feel you.
All you have to do is take a camera there, set it up
and
any angle,
That's
Yeah,
right.
you're
and
right.
go.
And go. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yes, it's heavy on the green screen, but I'm never going to be a fan of green screen work because you could digitally make anything look pretty.
I feel you.
But without New Zealand, you don't have these films. I mean, like,
Did you have a favorite shot?
That's a great question.
no, because my favorite scene is
That's an even better question. What is your favorite scene?
my favorite scene is You Bow to No One. My friends, You Bow to No One.
Yeah.
Because of the scale of how everybody bows at the same time, and the fact that the king is saying you
Yeah.
bow to and bows himself.
Emotionally
Yeah.
impactful, right?
And so, like, but you look at that scene, it's all digital. I mean,
It is.
especially
Yeah.
with the pull back into the
Into
aerial
the
view,
big
you
world of it,
totally
yeah.
can tell that it's fake. But it's my favorite scene, and again, that shows how far we've come with
Totally.
with visual effects.
Totally.
That being said, it's when they're walking on the mountains and all that stuff, just trailing
The
through
natural
the
stuff.
natural
And-
stuff. Which
yeah.
you go, oh my god!
It's one of the only examples that I've found after watching literally thousands of movies that the montage comes out as being like one of the strongest points of the movie.
right. And so, like again,
It's such a travel heavy movie.
It really is.
You can give
all on
credit-
foot. God damn, those boots must be fucking awesome.
you
right?
could give credit to the guy that pushed the button. I
Yeah.
mean, but really, it's New Zealand.
I love that. To give credit to the guy who pushed the button. I respect where you're coming
like Andrew
from.
said, like totally, I believe this. Any 360 degree that you go in New Zealand,
You could put
gonna
the
get
camera at the
something
dirt
cool.
from
You
where
could go to
you're
a
standing.
toilet in New Zealand and be like, "Oh my god, the porcelain is beautiful."
yeah, it sparkles in the sun.
It's amazing.
So yeah, so I don't have one that I particularly
that.
like because I feel like they're all the same.
I feel you.
But I do believe that the scouting on this film, without a doubt, they were like, we got to pick something
Right
that's
on top.
outworldly but still connected to Earth.
Even
Right.
And then-
like you go from Hobbiton to Rohan,
Yeah.
and they planned it all out. They built those sets on those locations.
It's crazy.
They planned year in advance on all of the Hobbiton, like all the grasses on top of the dwellings and all the flowers in bloom. They planned all of that.
For sure.
So it's
It's amazing.
epic.
It's amazing.
The end.
And epic, but like epic by the true
Like all of
definition of
it.
the term. All of it.
All of it. They wouldn't have been able to make that movie as epic or grand as they did without New Zealand.
I feel you.
totally agree.
I feel you. And I completely agree with both of you guys. I think that from a sound engineer's point of view, God, all three movies are just so dense. But, Andrew, you're absolutely right. It's The Return of the King that lasts out. And quite honestly, very technically speaking, there are more opportunities for sound design. There are so many battles in this film, so many switches over to different terrain, so many characters introduced for a few minutes and back out. It is a movie by itself, I think, and we've agreed upon that. We talked about that, how The Return of the King follows a specific formula where you have, like, again, the hero's journey, but it's beginning, a middle, and an end.
Not
and
to
through
poop on your
that,
cornflakes, but I got to poop on your cornflakes.
oh, Jesus Christ.
Do you know which one I think is the best sound design?
Oh, really?
It's Two Towers.
Oh, do you?
I thought
for
you were
one
going to say
scene.
that.
Okay, and
One
why?
scene in particular. Okay, when the orcs are coming up
Uh-huh.
and you hear Vigo talking Elven,
Uh-huh.
and you hear the arrow go through their hair to attack the orcs coming. That is like one of the coolest sound designs I've ever seen because you hear the marching, him talking, and then the actual the whips of the arrows.
Are you talking down to me right
I'm
now?
not. I'm just saying that I'm like I gotta
Are you
disagree. I think Two
challenging?
Towers. When you see that fight, man, you're going like, damn, that is cool.
Okay,
sound
well, look,
design.
I appreciate where you're coming from,
You're wrong again.
Bert, but editing sound is a little bit different than editing video, bro.
I'm just saying, yo. I'm just saying
And
that.
when you
the
talk
sound
about,
is
hold
so
on a moment.
crisp.
No, I gave you your 2 seconds of completely unqualified theory regarding like which one.
cornflakes, folks.
Oh man, did he ever? When you're talking about just when it comes to different
Just
layers.
watch that scene again.
Oh Jesus Christ! I'm not saying it's bad. This comes from a point of opportunity, and the third film has more opportunity for more sound design
I'm
than the
just
second.
saying that it just sticks out. That's all.
Okay, fine. It just sticks out.
Didn't
press the key a little bit. Oh, it's so bad. Oh,
Your
Bert.
sound doesn't even
Oh,
work.
wow, zombie Bert. That's crazy. How amazing you can still talk out of that hole in your head after I shot you like 3 times. It's amazing. Oh, my God. Okay. But anyway, guys.
Can I tell you why I anticipated 3?
Oh, why?
Just because of those like flying things, whatever they are, just like the sound design in those moments where everything goes quiet and you have the heartbeat, whoom, 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 and then you have the flapping and the screeching and all of that crazy.
The fact that this movie,
the dragons,
yeah, it's good shit. The Drakes,
yeah.
the fact that they incorporated a ghost army in this trilogy. Right. Oh my God,
yes,
it's
sound
unbelievable.
Design is still better in Two Towers, folks. Check it out.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, you
and
guys.
This is a trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. It is a trilogy. You're right, Andres. So that's
And we don't know what we're talking about because Mike proved it several times today.
Boy.
But
I get one Sean mixed up in one of the biggest trilogies ever made in the history of cinematography.
Please tell us that we don't know what we're talking about.
But I love that you still made a valid point about Scene Bean.
Thank you.
Just because the brother dies in every film doesn't mean that every Sean is the same.
The man has to put it in his contract at this point, right? Is it, am I dying? Yeah. All right, then I need at least 100,000. I'm sorry. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much what we have in regards to our opinions and our well-learned opinions of this latest edition to our trilogy project. If you think that we're doing a good job, then feel free to let us know. You can always email us at pullfocuspod@gmail.com. Like us on SoundCloud. Subscribe and follow us on YouTube. But we're just going to do what we can to try and bring as much knowledge and obviously opinions.
Can you say goodbye?
Just
say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm trying to be... All right. Anyway, we appreciate you guys. Follow us. Listen to what we're saying. If you disagree, feel free to let us know. And any parting words, guys, besides the huge diatribe that you gave me in regards to the second film, Bert?
I'm just saying, I was right, as always.
All right. God, I hate you so much.
You really ended it on "I hate you so much." That is not brotherly love. That is not a fellowship of the ring. That is so sad.